Good evening, everyone. Tonight is Tuesday, March 29th, 7 p.m. Advisory Committee meeting. And so tonight we have the library budget, library trustees in, and then we will finalize the warrant articles, and then finalize, it's unlikely we're going to get to any minutes tonight, but we'll get to, we need to get through the advisory statement for the warrant. So that's what we have on tap. See, the library is here. Come on down.
Thank you.
How are you this evening?
Very well, thank you.
Good.
So I appreciate you setting up this meeting with us this evening. So just to, because Ken is here, sort of new to the process, and because just the discussion that went on in last meeting, just want to go over sort of where we were. So in the library, the whole budget, we came at the beginning on January 5th. I think we identified 3 issues. One was heat and electricity. The second was flexibility with respect to staffing, and the third was the fraction of book budget.
Mm-hmm.
So on the heat and electricity, we agreed in principle, so early on, that the electric rate and the consumption would be calculated by advisory, and that we would put those numbers into the budget.
Yeah.
I noticed in the last discussion that I was on.
So I can have you take a look at that. That is the heat and electricity analysis. This was in an off meeting, I want to say 3 weeks ago, maybe, yeah.
Okay.
So this is the explanation or rationale, and this, you can see, cuts across all the various departments. I want to say this is electricity,
Okay.
and then that is the various heating. So in this particular case, you folks originally came in, with a flat budget for heat of 19,220, and through that rationale, we took you from 19,220 down to 15,800.
And is that a price per gallon that you're using across all parts of the town?
Yes, yep.
Okay.
And then based upon gallons.
And does this sheet include the price per? Yes, it does. $2.05. So there's an estimate of $2.05 per gallon. Okay, great.
And then, let's see. And then with electric, 18.2 went to 17,000. And the original, I want to say the original heat, at one point, heat was 15.5 for you guys.
Yeah, we agreed to take that down. I think when we walked out here, we knew that number was lower.
Exactly.
One I think was used us in the last iteration.
Yes, so that is true. So the electric would, that's right, electric would have been new, so it went from 18.2 down to 17,000. And then the heat, we finalized using that formula at 15.8. You guys walked out of here at 15.5. So we actually increased you on that.
Okay. And that included the generator crate. Okay.
Yeah.
Super. And the cost per, does it estimate on the cost per kilowatt hour on this? Somewhere in here, or do I just figure it out?
So I can make a photocopy of this, Bob, but this is my own.
Oh, that's your only.
I will make a photocopy.
I would appreciate that photocopy. Actually, I don't want the photocopy. I just for my own records, what the estimated usage was and what the estimated rate was for both electricity and propane.
Yeah, so I think, all right, hold on.
So I'll have you write it. I don't need it tonight.
So tell me what it is. What do you want?
I want the estimated usage, either in gallons or kilowatt hours, which is sort of what you're estimating we're going to consume. And this is sort of based on the seasonal aspect of what the weather is like.
All right.
And then the projected cost per gallon or per kilowatt hour. And those should multiply together to get the numbers in the budget.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that
So you have your
we have that for our record,
Yeah.
so that when we come back again, we all agree on, if we come back again, we all agree on sort of what the assumptions were and where the assumptions were violated.
Frankly,
Yeah, they were.
the book budget is affected by that.
Welcome to it.
Oh, yeah, there you go, extra
Great.
copy.
Thank you.
The whole budget was affected by any move, either.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, good. So that was the first topic, and I guess, well, I don't know what your guys' plans are. I mean, ideally, I think from our perspective, sort of if these numbers were available in the first meeting, it would allow us to sort of potentially at least close the budget, sort of at that time, because as you say, sort of impacts the rest of the budget, so.
Completely agree. They weren't available to anyone. We sent everyone away packing.
This is a desiderata for just next year as we do this, and if they would just again sort of so we can track, just include the rates and the projected usage.
Mhm.
Okay, great. So the second topic was flexibility on staffing, right? And originally on January 5th when we came in, I believe we presented it as a problem we were having, which was sort of how we could staff the library with part-time employees despite the fact that because of sicknesses and sort of the ability of the library, we're finding cases where in order to get the person who was available, we've had to go over 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
And we had speculated that one way to do that would be to raise sort of the worker beyond 20 hours a week, which is a whole discussion about things.
I'm going to disagree with you there. We are not here tonight to open that up again.
No, we're not. We're just recapping where we are.
I'll tell you right now,
I'm sorry.
that was all factored in. You want to keep it as two separate.
I'm sorry.
It was all together.
In the email chain that we were exposed to after I requested it, it became clear from Donna on February 10th, after our second meeting, that in fact we can staff, that a person can work more than 20 hours, even a part-time do it if they do it occasionally. I would love to have had that answer earlier, because that solves our problem.
Yeah, and you got that answer.
We did not get that answer until I didn't get the email, and it wasn't discussed in the February 9th meeting.
And that, you're right, I didn't have that answer either. It came in on February 10th, and it came in on February 10th because you made the comment about contracts, and for the entire rest of the evening, we were all under the impression that you were dealing with contracts.
It came up on January 5th, which is we have a problem, we need to staff it. I was hoping going into the 9th meeting that we would have the information to address that problem. Instead, we spent a lot of time, unproductive time, we didn't actually change anything. We found out how little I know about sort of staffing and contracts, which is great fun, but I think there was potential sort of loss of goodwill there, and I think it was squandered. I think we could have come to a simpler solution earlier. And we're happy with that solution, by the way. I mean, now that we understand what the parameters are, we're able to sort of staff part-time employees over 20 hours. That solves our problem. So
Yeah.
all the rest of the stuff, I mean, it was fun.
I'm glad you thought it was fun.
Well, it just was a communication breakdown.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the crux of the problem, is that the communication, it just, like, I don't want to come here 3 different times to do this budget.
Absolutely.
This budget is so simple, it's ridiculous. And so I think if we can, get some of these assumptions straightened out ahead of time in the beginning, and sort of work together to solve problems rather than have this be an adversarial situation, it would be much more constructive going forward.
Agreed. It was certainly never my intention in any discussion to mislead or sort of introduce any extraneous thing. Again, we're exposing my ignorance and an area that we came initially to ask what the options were. Anyway, so that's water under the bridge, and the decision has been made. I think we know how to solve that problem. Sort of the 2 hours that we put into the budget tentatively, they backed out. I think that's the proper solution in the end. Okay, that brings us to the main event, which is the books and materials budget. So in the January 5th meeting, we had a discussion about that. Ted sort of raised the issue, having done some research with the MBLC, noting that the MBLC rules allow one to take charitable contributions for books and material out of the books and material line that the town things. We didn't realize that was true. We said we would go back and do some research on it. And we came back on February 9th. That is in fact true. The MBLC allows one to take charitable donations into account, figuring that MBLC. It doesn't require it. That's a minimum standard. It's not a requirement to do. It's an option that the towns can use. We discussed that at the time. I thought I made the position of the trustees clear. which was, we don't believe that we should use that option. Basically, we believe that that charitable contributions to the library, and this is from someone who's both given money to organizations in the town as well as raised money for charity in the town, are given with the expectation that they improve the services of that industry. It's very hard to go to the library donors, and say, with $100, sort of it doesn't change the book budget at all, but you're out $100, but don't worry, the town saved $100. So, and I thought we made that point clear. Apparently we didn't. And then the other issue was that we had said, and so what that would have done, essentially, backing the charitable contributions out would have basically brought the town contribution down to roughly 16% of the budget. We had actually considered this earlier, 3 years ago, when we were considering library cut, where we had the option of basically going with 16%, sort of, or taking
Yeah.
some staff out of it.
And we all agreed on 17.
And at the time, we agreed to 17.5 at the time, which was somewhere between. So we cut some of the staff hours, we cut some of the book budget, and we ended up 7.5. We were worried at the time that some future advisory meeting would come back and look at the 17.5 and say, no, that shouldn't be 17.5, that should be 16. Because after all, you can meet the minimum 16. We would have made a separate, an independent decision if, at the time, our meeting with advisory said, no, basically we will recall this, we will remember this happened, we will take 17.5% and we'll be able to keep that as if it had been 16. So those were the 2 points that I made on February 9th. I thought I made them clearly. I thought we left here, sort of keeping the library budget at 17.5%. Apparently that was not the case. You guys had a meeting yesterday. I forget when it was last week. Sort of, and the issue was raised again. Unfortunately, we're not on the agenda, so we didn't know to attend.
We had, library was one of 7 or 8 other departments, all very large ones.
I just want to be clear for this group, because there was some, perhaps some confusion. At any point that we're discussing, sort of libraries on the agenda, especially the book budget. I mean, the book budget is the library. It's the reason people come to the libraries to get new books. Right? All of the building and the stuff and all the employees, that's to enable us to make use of this money. So especially the book budget, we would desperately want it to be included in the agenda explicitly if the vote is being taken. Otherwise, we end up reading about it in the...
So we are all in agreement that the number is 17%, or 17.5%.
17.5%.
I've never heard 17.5, but I'll go with it. I've heard 17.
Okay.
All along.
Okay.
And the email that Ted sent around that you guys received, because that's what originally landed you here, doing the math, calculates out at 17%.
Just to be clear, the agreement that we had, and I've been now in 8 or so presentations to advisory on budgets. In the most ones, we include a summary, which we went over in our first meeting. And in that summary, we included the charitable contributions. These are great things. We view this as basically a public-private partnership where the town spends some money, people more interested in the town are able to spend additional money, the town gets more services built on top of that. In none of those discussions did we ever talk about reducing the services that the town would provide because people were making donations. So I disagree, and this is the point that I made on February 9th, I disagree that we ought to be subtracting private contributions out of the 17%.
17.5%.
17.5%. Sorry.